you know, that's the kind of stuff I like. I like the sort of darker aspects, and happy music makes me sad, and sad music makes me happy. It's always worked that way. Don't ask me why, but I'm not the only one.
Hi, I'm Ross Buchanan, and I'm joined by Ville Valo for the latest In Conversation series for NME. Hey mate, how you doing?
Hey there. Please be tender. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm hoping it's going to be like riding a bike, but I'm not quite sure. So
how long has it been?
It's been years, and so many weird changes in the world and in these times. You know, last time around I flew abroad from Helsinki, Finland, where I'm from, was back in 2017, and worked on new music during pandemic and Brexit and all. It's weird. And it was actually funny. I got into the country and the passport machines didn't work. I was like, what the hell's going on? You know, I do have a new passport and stuff, but only then to realize that it was my eyeliner. So I hadn't done the picture for the passport with the eyeliner, so I couldn't get in. And so that's such a rock and roll problem.
You had eyeliner on the picture, but
not the other way around.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're not allowed to wear eyeliner in the picture for the passport.
I didn't even think about it.
I just can't imagine you without eyeliner at this point.
Yeah, indeed. I guess I tried to be like a regular person for that wee bit, for that passport moment, until I lost it again. You know?
So this is your first solo record. Like, how are you feeling about everything?
Just as uncertain, as complicated, as existentially problematic as before. Nothing's changed in that sort of stuff. I think, music for me is the sort of the filter or the safety blanket between me and the world. It's always been. I started playing when I was really young. And most of the music I had done with my previous band, Him. I wrote all the songs anyway. So in that sense, it's not so different. But it's actually a relief in a way that that is all my fault.
Your fault.
It makes it all, in good and bad and everything in between. It makes it way more simple. It's the unadulterated me, no compromise whatsoever, in good and bad.
Do you feel that responsibility?
There's no responsibility, no. There can't be. It's not that serious.
Well, fortunately, I've heard the record. It's very good, and you're in safe hands. It's all good.
Thank you so much. Oh.
When did you start writing the album?
In the autumn of 2019.
Okay.
I started working. I didn't have any ideas or anything. I started from scratch, and then what ended up happening in the next few months was the pandemic hit, and that meant I couldn't form a band. I couldn't get any musicians because I wasn't able to. Nobody was able to meet anybody and so forth, and communicating via masks on and all that stuff is very un-rock and roll. So I ended up sort of imagining myself as the gothic prince. And I decided to do everything by myself. So I played the drums and the bass and the guitars and did all the recording and everything back home by myself. And yes, it was egotistical, egocentric. I wanted to sort of channel Lars Ulrich from Metallica and go that route. But I think it was good to put myself up, sort of like challenge myself and do something differently. I've been around for way too long, some might say. So it's good to sort of like test yourself. Mm-hmm. Keep yourself on your toes, and that's what I did. And because I hadn't done that before, I wasn't a fast player of drums, so it took me a while to get it right. And that's why it took 2.5 years to get the album done.
And what was your history with like production before? Had you used Pro Tools before?
No my way around Pro Tools, and a bit of tape as well. I started with 4-track cassette
Very
recorders.
Cool.
I'm so old, man. But I think the cool thing is that we were able to do few albums. We worked with John Fryer, a famous English producer who's done we worked with This Mortal Coil and Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails, and another English producer called Tim Palmer, done albums with Tin Machine and worked with U2 and all sorts of stuff. So I've been sort of spying, throughout the years, picking up a little trickery involved, and I knew a bit about it, but it was still a daunting task, and I think it wasn't so much to do with the technical aspect, but the mental, the insecurities and whether it's good enough. And actually, it's pretty tough to find yourself in a position where you can actually tell that something's good because you're so focused in it. It has to be this meditational sort of druggy experience without the drugs, in my case. But you really have to lose yourself in the music, so it's tough to know whether it's just beeps and farts, or if it actually sounds like music.
Did you actually bounce the music off anybody else's ears at the time, or were you solely just like questioning, is this good or bad?
I had a few mates who came in every couple of months, just to check that I was okay.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure
general.
indeed, so I wasn't sure if that had anything to do with music. But yeah, you have to have that. I used to be in a band that we knew each other for a very long time. We met when we were like 12 or 13 years old, so we grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
And being in a band, it's very important to brainstorm not only about the music, but the hang. The sort of like talk about life, get those terrible jokes going in the interim, waiting for the next thing to happen, because otherwise you'd go nuts.
Yeah.
And I didn't have much of that, so I did lose it many a time, and now I'm sort of like trying to get back to the civilization and hopefully little by little sort of adjust to your principles.
Easing your way into society.
Indeed, yeah, slowly but surely.
Did you find it lonely making this record at all?
It was solitary, but I found it refreshing in a way. Also, I've always wondered, how does it feel for a painter, or how does it feel for a writer? Because it is a weird process. It was very different, because also with music, I didn't have to verbalize the ideas at all. I didn't have to say that I'd love this guitar to sound a bit like the camellias on the script of a bridge, or the reverb, or whatever. I didn't have to do any of that, so I just followed my own intuition and my gut, and it led me here. Mm-hmm. So I'm not complaining. So, as I said earlier, is the fact that I was able to do something differently. I think that's the most important thing, as opposed to same old, because that's a real mood killer, and life killer, and a music killer, killer in general.
Was this throughout lockdown? Like, so you started in autumn 2019. Yeah. Did lockdown come quite quickly after you'd written, or were you producing in that time?
I worked the album in a funny way, that I started from scratch each and every song, and I finished the whole production and then moved on to the next song. So I didn't work on like how bands do, that they rehearse for let's say 6 months and then record all the drums for 20 songs or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know anything about recording drums or whatever, all that stuff. So it took me ages to get there, where to put the mics, and does it sound any good, and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of that. So it made all the sense in the world for me to start from scratch, write the song while producing it and recording it. And then when I felt it was nearly done, I sent it over to Tim Palmer, the guy who co-produced and mixed the album, to see if it still sounded like music. And that's the way I worked. It was an odd way, like a cart before a horse, sort of. But I do love David Lynch, and I do love stuff that's a bit bonkers and left of a center. So I was up for the challenge.
And was this back home in Finland?
Yeah, indeed. I wasn't able to travel anywhere. I was lucky enough. I moved into this house with a photography studio. It was one really big room. I was able to spread all my stuff around, and it was really inspirational. But and also, the pandemic it hit me pretty hard, emotionally speaking. It was like a big black hole, like this blob, and that kind of sucked in everybody and everything for a time being. So since I've been a kid, that's my sort of like my focus, my lifeline, my life boy, or whatever you want to call it. Music is. So without it, I wouldn't be here. So it's an existential problematic solved in a very peculiar manner, but
sounds very therapeutic.
No, it remains to be seen. There's still touring to be done and all that.
Yeah.
Now we're just talking about the possibilities.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a daydreamer. So,
what were you doing outside of the music? A lot of people were like baking banana bread.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I've heard some people do that, but I didn't know there was a trend.
What else were you up to?
Not much, to be honest. I was mostly like, I was feeling depressed or making music. So it's quite a good combo though. It's like the demons and angels. Keeping that stuff in balance. It worked out well. I do have a girlfriend who I was testing her patience during the pandemic, because in lockdown it was quite testing. But she's gonna be. The album is dedicated for her, so hopefully that's not enough, but a start.
That's really nice.
Some flowers and the album, and a lot of sorries and banana bread. So I'm sure that we'll get there eventually.
You mentioned your depression. Are you all right to talk about that at all?
I wouldn't call it clinical depression. I come from a country that dad has a peculiar history with people being rather morose. And it's probably due to the winters being very dark. The sun doesn't come up at all during the middle of the winter, and the winters are very long. So I think we do have this this innate sort of manic depressive sort of behavior, because then the sun doesn't go down at all in the middle of the summer, and people do go a wee bit bonkers. Then so I think it's part and parcel. And then again, you know, that's the kind of stuff I like. I like the sort of darker aspects, and happy music makes me sad, and sad music makes me happy. It's always worked that way. Don't ask me why, but I'm not the only one. So yeah.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, it's a vast world. It's like a big rabbit hole, you know, talking about all that stuff. But it would be weird, and it would be not actually. It could be bad for a person not to be depressed at least once in her or his life. You know, I think it's an important lesson to be learned as well about yourself, and you know, yeah.
So the record was in part dedicated to your girlfriend. What else did you want to achieve with Neon Noir?
Well, I'd like to be the torchbearer of my idols, and I find myself safely rocking somewhere in between Black Sabbath and Depeche Mode, and that's usually a problem for a lot of people. But I don't give a flying toss about it, to be honest with you. You know, it's I think it's important to realize when you're in this music thing that you're not reinventing the wheel or gunpowder or whatever. It's about sort of, you know, carrying the torch and reminding people of the power of music.
As an artist, you're like quite open about your influences as well. Like you've spoken about like Ozzy Osbourne and even Robert Smith on this record, Duran, Black Sabbath. What are your like favorite memories of these artists, and how did that come to fruition with the album?
There's so many. I got to meet Ozzy once. It was pretty cool. But the only thing I remember was that he told me that if you can't get the first row going, show me your tits.
Okay.
So he said the moves really work. Like,
have you ever tried that one?
I forgot it. All about it. You know, every time it's been tested on stage, I just get super nervous. But I should actually probably. That's a good idea. On the next tour on the set list, I'll write down. Remember Ozzy's wisdom, you know, regarding showing your tits when poop is hitting the fan, you know, vibe-wise. So it might work, but get the chance. Yeah, I had the chance to meet some of the idols. It is weird because I, at the same time, do remember when buying the albums from a discount slot somewhere in a record store, or whatever. And yeah, those are big deals. I remember when I saw there was an album, kind of compilation album from Black Sabbath called "We Sold Our Souls to Rock and Roll." Mm-hmm. It was gatefold vinyl, and when you opened it up, there was this dead lady in a coffin, and it was way too scary for me. I remember I didn't dare to buy it, so that's the reason why I actually bought an Ozzy Osbourne album, because of the cover. It's funny how the mind works when you're younger. It's so primal, all the reactions are so simple, and but it's good to keep that stuff in your head, even though when world becomes more complex and there's, you know, more and more shades to blacks and grays and everything between.
So you've been out of the game for like three years now. Do you miss being like, you know, meeting these stars and Ozzy Osbourne and all that kind of like that culture? Or are you quite happy like now just making your like lovely art and putting it out to the world?
Well, I think it's a balancing act, to be honest with you. I think it's important to take breaks in between because, and also, you know, I never managed to be in the position that would actually meet all my idols all the time or become friends. So I've always been like just a fanboy in certain of those meetings, and it's a big deal. So it's you have to sort of filter that stuff out in your subconscious, so you can't do that 24/7. So, but yeah, I'm kind of getting ready. I think that the pandemic and 5 years was, now I'm ready to meet some of my idols again.
Yeah,
the icons.
Anybody on the bucket list?
Well, back to Black Sabbath, I never had the chance to meet Geezer Butler, the bass player. Mm-hmm. And bass was my first instrument. Never had the chance to meet Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, one of the reasons I started playing bass. Never met Gene Simmons, who's also a bass player. So it's all about the bass, as Ozzy used to say, supposedly.
Well, they're all still knocking about, so there's plenty of opportunities.
Indeed, yeah. None of it's, those things are usually the best when it happens by accident. So that you don't think about it too much, and then you just all of a sudden...
Yell it.
Yeah. Oh, it was, I have some vivid memories of all that stuff. I haven't met anybody from Depeche Mode.
Still lots to do.
Lots to do, yeah. My autograph sort of book is half empty still.
Do you miss playing with him at all? Like as a band, you're potentially, I've heard, you might be playing some him stuff on this new tour. Is it going to be weird playing those songs solo?
No, well, no, not at all. I find the new stuff to be in a way, this like a transitional point for me personally, between the past and between what might happen in the future. I wrote most of the songs for him, so it is that sort of melancholy, weird, kind of like indecision sounding music, or sounds like I'm being indecisive whether I want to be a rocker or a pop guy. So it's still the same. The zebra and stripes and whatnot. I can't change myself. So I was actually sort of found it endearing that the new album has so many things that are very similar with the him stuff. It just means that I think that I did find, or I'm still finding, I'm on the journey of finding my identity, but I'm sort of like, it is one single story, not a lot of 180s. So it's going to be old stuff and new stuff, because I also understand that there's going to be a lot of people, most of the people will be there not for the new music, not because of the new music, but because they've heard the music I've done in the past. So it would be unfair not to play that stuff. It'll be 50-50, I'd say.
It's going to be 20 years of love metal next year. Are you going to be doing any? Oh Lord, are you going to be doing anything to celebrate that anniversary at all?
There's so many anniversaries all the time, all the albums and all special moments and stuff, So no, not really. I think the best celebration anyway is to keep on playing some of the songs and keep on looking forwards.
I guess it's quite nice, like in the same year, having the 20th anniversary of like an iconic album and having your first solo album out. Like it's this kind of...
It's so poetic and dramatic, and it has the sense of things being right. And I don't believe that's just a bunch of coincidences, It's funny. It's been a while. And now the cool thing is that I've been talking to people and meeting people who actually, their first album was a him album, and they never saw the band play live, perhaps, and they were too young for it. Or then kids that heard about the band from their parents or some stuff like that. It's weird. It's weird, because we're discussing with my mum, where the core and the essence of the ideology and the vibes of a person don't really change. We're just like melting away like candles,
Do you think
just
so?
drooping bit by bit. To be honest with you, are your ideas or your jokes or whatever you laugh at, are they so different from when you were like, let's say 14, at the end of the day?
Yeah, definitely.
They're very different.
Yeah.
Mine aren't. The vocabulary has changed a bit. The sort of like, there's a bit more maybe finesse.
Are there any lyrics on the new album that like really resonate with you that, you really want the fans to kind of look out for?
No, I think the beautiful thing about music is the fact that people can always hear things whatever way they want to. I think it would be selfish of me to try to convince that one thing is better than the other. It's like picking singles. I don't have an idea. I don't have, if a song resonates with somebody, it's beautiful. And that's all I can hope for. But I've no idea. No idea. There's all sorts of cheeky, cool little lines here and there. But once again, that's the stuff that I'm not sure whether it's going to work out or not.
So
it's the sort of genre that some people seem to take a bit too seriously, or some people take it too jokey, and then it's that fine line. And as you can see, I'm still struggling with all that. Yeah, it's so hard to be me.
I got caught down the turn to page 43 kind of whole loophole kind of Easter egg thing.
Right.
That was very enjoyable for me to discover. So thank you for that.
Okay, yeah. So there's still some mystery left.
I dug deep for that.
Cool.
Are there any Easter eggs on this album?
No, I'm going straight for the jugular. Okay. It's very, very direct, very direct. But obviously there's a lot of weird words, a lot of weird combinations. So it is playful, and you can find some wordplays there, and hopefully they evoke memories or ideas or this weird juxtaposition of things that seemingly don't go together, and I'm trying to forcefully marry them, and hopefully via that make a concoction that's never been heard before.
And
it remains to be seen.
In the future, are there going to be more VV albums?
Well, I have to be realistic. I have to see how the next year is going to go and if people are into the album at all. It was, sure, I'd love to be involved in music, but then again, I have to be humble and sort of understand that you can't take this for granted.
Yeah.
Being able to provide for the past, a quarter of a century plus is no mean feat, as you'd say. So I'm honored to be a part of this. I feel like an infiltrator in the world of rock and roll. I feel like the fanboy suddenly got in through the back door, and I'm somehow managed to hang on for all this time. So it's a cool feeling, and it feels really special. And I try not to lose that sort of sense of the childish sort of
the cheekiness,
and being giddy about things and meeting idols and the fact that you get to walk on a stage and there's people like shouting your name or whatever and singing along to songs that I wrote wearing my underwear somewhere back in. It's cool how music travels and how it can last for a long time and how people can find solace in it. It's special. I understand it because I find solace in music and not my own, but other people's music. So it's a wonderful and a weird journey to be on.
It's so interesting. Like you spoke about perspective earlier, but that you think you're this kind of like underdog coming in, but from everybody else's perspective, it's just like icon on the stage, like it makes sense.
I'm not sure if other musicians feel the same. I have no idea, but I think it would feel so weird to say that, yeah, the world revolves around me. The sort of like the old school way of the egocentrical, rock and roll star or whatever. I don't find that interesting at all. Nobody wants to be an a-hole and be by themselves. It doesn't serve a purpose at all.
And have you ever felt like that? Maybe like earlier on in your career? That
for the first 20 years, more or less.
We've come out the
alcohol
other side.
didn't help, but I've had my moments. But I think it's important to test the waters and sort of, because it's part of the whole mythology of being a rock and roller. So to see if anything beautiful can come out of destroying yourself and everybody around you.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work. It's a cool idea, but don't believe everything you read, children.
And going back to those kind of like noughties years as well, do you have any like moments where you were just like, this is all too much for me, I kind of need to take the gas off a little bit?
I think it was the other people's telling me that at some point. But yes, when you like start pooping and puking blood and on a daily basis, and you look like the swollen balloon of a person, this sort of weird thing that's about to burst from all orifices and wherever. It's just, I think it's a thing to celebrate for a wee bit, but not too long. I'm glad enough my mates helped me out to get my stuff together, and it's easier said than done. I always hid behind alcohol. That was my sort of. I had the music as a security blanket, but then I think being sort of a bit insecure and maybe a thin in general, it was pretty overwhelming to meet all people and all of a sudden experience that being on stage and people actually experiencing a dream, so it took me a while. It took me a long while to get my head together, but I'm here and my sense of humor isn't any better or worse. It's about the same. So I think I'm on the safe side of things, so to speak. Yeah. And the good thing about alcohol and drugs is that there's always you never run out. Yeah. Besides during the pandemic, I think the places were running out of Coke. Such a shame.
Are you still in touch with Bam Margera at all? I know he's struggling.
No, I haven't heard from him in a while. It's I think the last time around I saw him was during our last tour in the States with him, which was 2017. And I've been trying to contact him via Brandon Novak. I'm not sure if you know him, but of the same ilk, so to speak, who was a mate as well. But I haven't been able to reach out in that sense or really talk to them. I'm hoping that he feels better because he's a nice guy. He's a sensitive, special fella, and it's just sad to see that he's turning into the monster that he is turning into. I think I can understand some of it, but it needs to stop. Because it's not going to lead to anything better or anything beautiful. He's got a beautiful family, both his own and then his parents and his brother and all that stuff. And he's got a lot of people that care about him. So I'm hoping that that he can, take a break from all the extracurricular activities and concentrate on the essential.
Brilliant. So I'm very much looking forward to the new album, Neon Noir, out January 13th.
Indeed, it is.
And
Yeah.
I
It's a Friday as well, so it's quite cool.
Great
Friday
party.
Yeah.
Friday
yeah.
the 13th.
Yeah, like a sad party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to throw a party?
Yeah, I'm going to be dancing with tears in my eyes.
Fantastic. So thank you so much
Pleasure.
for spending time with me today. It's been,
Thanks for having me.
been lovely.